Hi everyone, I hope you're well. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive into some regions of Pakistan and places I would recommend if you were to go visit. And to kickstart this, we're going to start with Punjab and more specifically Lahore. I have to be honest, I've not visited Punjab so much. I saw some parts like Islamabad, Lahore, Wagha Border, but there is still a lot that I don't know. So this series of video are mostly going to be based on what I visited, my impression of it, as well as what I've heard was very nice. So most likely there will be a lot of places that I will have missed. Don't hesitate to let me know, maybe for a future video or just, a future trip. I will be super happy to actually go visit these. Don't be too frustrated if you don't see your hometown or like a big town that is very famous in there. But without further ado, let's get started with the city of Lahore. A few things about Lahore. This is Pakistan's second largest city with 40 million people. And many say that it is the cultural capital of Pakistan. It is located in the Punjab region, so the Pakistani administrated Punjab, because there is also an Indian Punjab, which the whole region having been split in half during the partition of India in 1947. It was the capital of various empires, but it is particularly well known for having been the capital of the Mughal Empire, which was a massive entity going from Afghanistan and covering most of South Asia. So what is currently Bangladesh, Pakistan, India. So the Mughal Empire was founded during the 16th century by a man called Babur, who came from Uzbekistan, and it has lasted many centuries until the 19th century when the British took over an already declining empire. All the empires that conquered this part of the world left a lasting impact on the city, whether you're talking about the Mughals, if you're talking about the Sikhs, or the British. And this is still visible to this day. But let's get started with my first recommendation, the walled city of Lahore. The walled city of Lahore is what you would call the historical center of the city. It is a very densely populated area, very cramped, very crazy also. And as the name implies, it used to be enclosed by huge walls with a certain number of gates, massive gates. But during the 19th century, most of this wall was destroyed, so were a lot of gates. So if you go there and think that you're going to see a massive wall surrounding the city, it's not going to be that obvious. What you'll find instead is a fascinating maze of bazaars, Havelis, narrow streets, mosques, shrines. It is a living example of what South Asia is. And this is what makes it special. However, due to decades of neglect and illegal constructions, a lot of it is kind of hidden. So don't expect to be like in Paris or Rome where things are really preserved, renovated, and that you can easily identify. When I first went there, I wasn't so sure if there was still anything left from the Mughal Empire era, but it's just because it's a massive area and you need someone who knows it. As I said, it's like a maze. There are so many narrow streets and you can get lost easily. So you need a local to kind of show you around and show you the hidden gems that still exist and basically introduce you to the heritage there. Despite its challenges, the old city still carries a certain atmosphere. It is a place where history is still alive in the hustle of everyday life. A good starting place to go visit the old city of Lahore is the Delhi Gate. So the gate itself is nothing to write home about. It's not the nicest. It was rebuilt by the British during the 19th century. This area has been renovated in 2012 through the financing of various organizations and countries. And it gives you a glimpse of what the old city of Lahore looked like at its heyday. So the project itself focused on restoring what they called the Royal Passage. So it is the part of the city that was between the Delhi Gate and the Wazir Mosque, which is, it's my humble opinion, one of the most beautiful mosque in Pakistan. Before the restoration, it was hard to see the Wazir Mosque because there were so many encroachments from illegal shops. You had the cables going crazy everywhere. Even the square in front of the mosque was completely covered. So it was a mess. By 2015, the whole area had been cleaned up. So all the encroaching illegal places had been removed, and now you're able to see this beautiful facades. You have a direct view of the mosque. It is just very nice to walk there. So in terms of the main highlights of the whole city that you should not miss, I would start first with the Wazir Mosque, which, as I said, is my favorite mosque in, maybe not Pakistan, but at least in Lahore with Badshahi Mosque. It is very pretty, with beautiful geometrical forms, beautiful tile work, frescoes. Every inch of the mosque is decorated, which really makes it a pure expression of Mughal art. When I was there, it was still going through some renovations. Hopefully, by the time you go, and you'll be able to enjoy it in its full glory. Very close to the Wazir Mosque, you have the Shahi Hammam, which is a bathhouse that was also renovated as part of this Royal Pathway project. It is very pretty, quite big. Obviously nowadays it's no longer in use, but back in the Mughal era, it was a gathering place for nobles, travelers, and in the inside you have beautiful paintings and very ingenious kind of engineering. So it's worth a look. And as I said, it's very close to the Wazir Mosque anyways. Might as well do it. Scattered across the old city, you have a lot of Havelis. Havelis are some kind of mansions traditional mansions that were built by the nobles of the Mughal and the Sikh empires. It is a traditional part of the urban setting of the Mughal cities, and it follows a very special kind of architecture and planning. They're quite recognizable by their fronts, which have very nice wooden facades, and the inside are very secluded from the rest of the world. Unfortunately, there are so many of them who are in ruins or which have been already destroyed. It is very sad, but obviously with the end of the empire and with maybe the following owners not having the money or wanting to move outside of the old city and build new houses, these mansions did not get the better part of the deal. Actually, I've discovered when I was there that you have merchants who, when a Haveli is destroyed, manage to buy the woodwork as well as other objects or things that could be of values to resell them afterwards to, could be hotels, whoever wants to buy this timber or these facades. So quite sad, but it is a strong part of the identity of the old city. And with a guide, you can definitely go visit a few examples that are in very good condition, because thanks God, not all of them are in this state of disrepair. Finally, as I mentioned, originally there were 13 gates opening the whole city. A lot of them were destroyed during the 19th century by the British after a rebellion, but still 6 of them remain. So I would recommend you go try to find them. Some of the gates are very pretty, like the Bati gate. If you can find it, it's worth taking a few shots there. So at the corner of the old city, you have the Badshahi Mosque, which when it was built by the Emperor Aurangzeb in the 17th century, was the largest mosque in the world. Nowadays, it's forecasted to be among the biggest in the world, but not the biggest. And what is quite impressive there is that more than 100,000 worshippers can actually stand inside the mosque. So it is massive. And they used these red sandstones to build it, which is quite a sight. One thing that I personally found very beautiful in this mosque is the 3 domes that you can find on the main building. It feels a little bit like you are in like an Aladdin movie. It is a very nice place, and it's also very peaceful. You are allowed, even if you're not Muslim, to get inside, but obviously you have to be respectful, so you leave your shoes at the entrance, you wear long sleeves, long trousers, so you must hide your shoulders and your knees, and if you're a woman you need a shawl, but it is 100% worth it. I would particularly recommend it either very early in the morning when there isn't too many people, or towards like the end of the day before it closes, because the atmosphere at night is also very nice. So just in front of the Badshahi Mosque, you have the Lahore Fort. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it is a complex mix of gardens, palaces, some more military kind of parts also. It was where the emperors of the Mughal Empire were residing. Unfortunately, it is not in the best condition. I know a lot of money was allocated to fully renovate it, but when I was there, still a lot had to be done. Having said that though, the view you get from there is really top notch. But also, you have some palaces like the Palace of Mirrors, which are amazing. Among the craziest architecture that the Mughal Empire has ever produced. You have some frescoes, you have some very beautiful gardens, and the fort really reflects this golden age of the Mughal Empire and shows what the grandeur of these days was like. Finally, to finish talking about this part of the city, there is a street, touristy street, that was created kind of showcase kind of like cultural things, cultural food, but you can tell it's really, it was designed with tourists in mind. It's called the Food Street. And I don't think most of the buildings there, even if they have like really traditional facades in wood, etc., I don't believe they are really old. So it was more reconstructed to give a vibe, like a Mughal vibe. But it's a very cool street. You have nice restaurants, you have all kind of dishes you can get, some like local craftsmanship. So it's nice. And I particularly liked the restaurant called Haveli, which is quite expensive for a Pakistani restaurant. I mean, we're talking more or less European levels. So like a dish is like 10 plus euros. So it's not extremely expensive. But it was among the best dishes I had in Pakistan. It was very good. And you have the view on the terrace on the Badshahi Mosque, which is beautiful at night. Now, if we really leave this area that is the old city of Lahore, you have some other places of interest that may be worth visiting. For example, still within Lahore, you have the Shalimar Gardens, which is an example of the garden culture of the Mughal Empire. So it's really inspired by the Persian gardens, but with a Mughal touch. It supposedly reflects heaven on earth, from what I understood. It took me a bit of time, I'm gonna be honest, like to fully understand it, but it is a very peaceful part of the city, which can be something you will need at some point because it's really crazy. It doesn't take super long to get there. Maybe with a taxi in 20 minutes you'll be there because it's a bit outside the city center per se. But I would recommend having a look. Maybe something I found a bit less interesting, but if you want to have a look, feel free to do so. Next to the Lahore Fort, you have this big park where you have what is called the Minar-e-Pakistan. So some kind of tower that was built in the 60s to commemorate an event that happened there, where the All India Muslim League passed the Lahore Resolution, which basically was the first official call for an independent Muslim country. The building is nice and the symbolic is important, but there isn't much to do there except if you want to go for a stroll because the park is very nice. When you're in Lahore, I would recommend you go have a look at the bazaars. One of them is outside the old city, but it's quite famous. It has been there for more than 200 years. It is one of the oldest surviving bazaars in South Asia. But beyond this one, you have a lot of other bazaars you can go to. Just this one is quite traditional and has a history to it, so I would recommend having a look.
So slightly outside the city, you have Emperor Jahangir tomb. So you have a whole structure that was built there, as well as a garden. It looks very pretty, but not too dissimilar to what you have already seen. So very incredibly detailed tile work, mosaics, things like this. It for sure looked pretty, but personally, by the time I heard about it, I had enough Mughal stuff going on, so I did not feel like taking the taxi to get there because it takes a little while. As the name implies, it is a border post between Pakistan and India, and it is very famous because at sunset they have this ceremony where they take their flag down on both sides. You have a whole military choreography. It is a show, basically. It is very interesting to see, and my feeling about it was that it felt like watching a football game. So there was so much patriotism, so much energy on both sides of the border. It is something to see at least once. So this is one that I would definitely recommend going to. It takes around 30-45 minutes to get there from the center of Lahore. So completely doable at the end of the day. Now I'm just going to talk about a few bonus destinations that's maybe worth checking out, and from what I understand can be done in a day. So if you manage to get a guide or like get a car if you're a bit crazy, you can go visit it. But these are not places I have been to personally, so I cannot really vouch for how interesting or nice it is. But I've heard about them. People did recommend going to some, so they are worth listing out so that you have more options when you go visit. The first one is the Rehwa salt mine. So it is a mine that, according to the legend, was discovered by the horse of Alexander the Great. It is one of the oldest salt mine and currently is the second largest in the world. So it is quite impressive from what I've heard, and a cool attraction to go to, especially because beyond this mine, you have other places close to it that you can go visit. The second place, which is not too far, is the Katas Raj Temple. So it is a very sacred place to the Hindus, where you have a pond that was said to have appeared from the tears of the god Shiva when his wife died. So it looks like a very nice place to go to, especially because it has become rare to find Hindu places in Pakistan. So just for that, it's worth having a look. Then you have all kind of forts, if you like military kind of buildings. The most famous one would be the Rota Sport, that is on a hill, so with a very nice view. But otherwise, there are other ones that you can visit. You have Iran Minar, which is a complex from the Shah Jahan kind of period, with these kind of large water basins that is supposedly very nice. I've never been, but the pictures look good. And finally, the last kind of buildings or sites I would recommend visiting is the Indus Valley Civilization archaeological sites. In Punjab, there is one of the two largest cities, which is Harappa. The other one, which is bigger even, is Mohenjo-daro, and it is in Sindh, so slightly more south. This is one of the earliest civilizations in the world, more than 8,000 years ago. And just for the history of it, it's worth checking out. So that's about it for today. So I hope these recommendations will be useful. Let me know what you think, if I've missed anything, if you would recommend other places, especially if you're from Punjab. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. And I see you in the next one that should come very, very soon about the places I would recommend in Gilgit-Baltistan. So see you very soon and have a nice day. Tschüss.